Hi everyone, welcome to Event Exchange, a series by Gevme where we dive into deep conversations with the experts shaping the future of events. I'm your host Keerat, and today I'll be talking to Paul Coulter, President at Priority Concepts Group. Welcome, Paul. Thanks for joining us on Event Exchange.
Morning, Kira. How are you?
All good, and we're pretty thrilled to dive into this conversation with you today, where we'll be talking about the latest trends and insights in event marketing. So let's dive right into it. So let's get started by talking a little bit about yourself. Could you tell us about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Paul Coulter. I get to the honor to serve as chairman of Corporate Event Marketing Association here in the United States, based upon it's a division of PCMA. You may be familiar with PCMA, which is a global events association. We're very excited to serve the industry, so that's what I'm probably most thrilled about and most excited about right now. But on my day job, I work with Priority Concepts Group, and we service different hotels, burgeoning hotels that are opening with pre-opening sales strategy, and we also service the events space through another one of our clients called Planner Hero. And we basically grease the wheels of exchange and commerce between the group side of things as event planners are trying to find the right live destination, and then connect those to the appropriate venue that profiles exactly for whatever the event objectives are for that organization. So those are kind of the multifaceted funnels that I play in, and excited to be a part of this conversation today.
Wonderful. That sounds fascinating. So you'd also describe yourself as a connector of people. Is that why you've decided to get involved in the invest event space as part of your career?
So, that's not really why. I would say that's something that's an ancillary benefit and become a primary point of fulfillment in my life. I'll tell you a story about how I got in the event space. I was doing an internship for a bank back in college, and the chief financial officer for that bank and I were talking, and he said, "Hey, so when you graduate college, why don't you come work for us at the bank?" And I had done some internships in finance as well, and I said, I don't feel like this is really where my purpose is. Um, I really appreciate all of the offers. He said, "Well, Paul, let me tell you one thing." He said, "Everything in business is sales. So spend 6 months to a year in sales, because everything is a sell. You're selling yourself, you're selling a good, a service, an idea. As marketers, we're communicating the best way to fulfill that need, right? And so the skill set in sales is really learning and understanding what the need is, and then how to connect the best solution to that need. And I love, because I am an inquisitive person, I love finding out what people's needs are, and then maybe it's not what I can do, but maybe it's one of my friends or somebody in my network that I can connect them to help them fulfill that need. So that's really where I got fulfillment. But as it turns out, I loved golf, so I was selling a golf resort and selling conventions at a golf resort, and so I saw people gathering and people really connecting and coming together, and that became a subsequent passion, is bringing people together for the group space. And that's really how this whole career evolved, and I got recruited over to Walt Disney World, the largest uh, property, over 2,200 rooms in the Starwood portfolio at that time, and now within the Marriott portfolio. And it was just amazing to see how, when people come together, what synergies happen, what business gets done, what needs are fulfilled, and that excitement that surrounds that, bringing people together.
Wonderful. That sounds really exciting. And I think that's what's happened in the events industry as well, right? With in person events are finally back after more than 2 years of running almost exclusively virtual or hybrid events. So, what are some of the things that we've learned during that period that we can't throw out as we're able to meet in person again?
Well, I will tell you, coming off of our corporate event marketing annual summit just this past month. There's an energy of bringing people together, and I think there's a pent up demand, as we've all discussed previously. There's an excitement of bringing people back together. Uh, but with the evolution of technology evolved and adapted so rapidly to serve the needs of different organizations throughout COVID, right? Um, a lot of different types of engagement metrics, a lot of analytics on the back end when you're looking at digital platforms, right? It was really interesting also to so what do we not need to lose is what we need to maintain is that analytical approach and really diving into the data to understand, hey, are our attendees really accomplishing their objectives? Are their needs being fulfilled? Are they learning? Are they contributing? Because in an event you want, it's not just a performance, right? It's a two-way street. You want, how do you make that, design that two-way street? So I think that is a priority that we need to continue with on the event side. But I was talking with the NFL planners. Corporate Event Marketing Association also did a behind the scenes tour at the NFL draft. And we were talking about this whole dichotomy between live events and digital events. And they said, we've really been playing in the digital event space for years, right? You have the NFL, you have the Super Bowl, you have the NFL draft, all being broadcast to millions, if not hundreds of millions of people across the globe. So there's that component, but there's also the live component, right? That live
Yeah.
experience. How do you elevate that live experience? And so I think what we're seeing now is in a lot of events, there's always going to be kind of this hybrid, this dual approach, right? Where you want this moment of magic, you want this great creative experience where you bring people together that is instilled in people's minds. But then, how do you carry that through, and how do you extend that so that all the learnings, the takeaways, the memories, the commitments are then fulfilled subsequently throughout the months and days to come follow.
Absolutely, and I think the sports industry was indeed very inspiring at the beginning of the pandemic as well. A lot of the organizations that were trying to pivot into the virtual world were really learning from how the sports industry has been doing this for years,
Mm-hmm.
and that was truly interesting to see, and how we could take a few learnings here or there and really implement it in the event space.
Well,
um,
and,
which
and just
Yeah.
just to kind of build off that, this was a really incredible experience that we were able to be a part of at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. On Disney property, there were two bubbles. There was the NBA bubble and the Major League Soccer bubble, where we had all of the teams kind of sequestered at our hotel. So we were able to host the Major League Soccer bubble, and so each team had their own specifications, their own workout times, their own areas, so that you didn't have when we didn't know exactly what the medical implications of COVID were going to be. And there
Yeah.
were so many creative solutions that were spurned out of this environment. And I think you're right on the money there. What can we learn from other industries, whether it be the sports or whether it be any industry? How can we benchmark off of creative solutions from other industries to implement that into our day-to-day within whatever we're trying to accomplish?
Absolutely. And another challenge that event planners are facing today are really rising costs as well as labor shortage. At the same time, attendees are becoming more demanding, which is actually leading everyone to compete for their time and travel. So, given those constraints, how are event planners able to still offer a unique experience that drive registrations?
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge, and it's different for each market segment, each objective. Um, whether it's a obligatory internal meeting, a sales kickoff, for example, or if it's a user conference, or if it's really an incentive trip, any of those type of events, they all have their own different motivation. However, across the board for all of those type of events, the threshold for attendance seems to be rising and rising. And I think that where that plays into is the intentionality of our event design. We really want to be very intentional on what are the objectives, what are we trying to accomplish, and then what's the call to action as a result of this. There's always going to be, I mean, half the battle is getting people together in person and connecting, whether that be digitally or whether that be in person. But how do you bring people together, and what is that compelling reason to, to invest our time, to invest our resources, to make sure that we're there within that circle or that community? And so that there can be a lot of different components. Um, I was just on a brainstorming call earlier this week where we talked about picking a unique and different location than you've ever considered, whether that be in the middle of an art gallery, whether that be in the middle of a safari in South Africa, right? And now me sitting here in next to Disney, going all the way to South Africa, that may not be fiscally responsible for my company or my organization, but maybe I could do a special event in Animal Kingdom where you have touches of nature, those moments of sequestering, the moments of shifting yourself out of your mundane or day-to-day environment so that these synapses can start firing, at a different speed. And I think that's really part of the objective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really about, crafting that experience that'll make your event attendees feel that it was specially made for them, is when they'd like to sort of make that effort to come down as well.
Yeah, and you can do that in a number of different ways. I mean, you can shift the environment, but it can be a compelling speaker, right? It could be,
Yeah.
it could be a lot of different things. A great mind share, a great group that you bring together. But at the end of the day, the reason for bringing people together is solving problems, right? And if, for the most part, right, sometimes it can be entertainment, but from a business standpoint, we want to advance the business objectives. So, what are the challenges? What are those problems? And then, how can we overcome those hurdles?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're the chair at SEMA, that you also mentioned in your introduction today. SEMA, which is a community for senior level event marketing professionals. And you guys recently hosted the SEMA Summit 2022, where Gevme was also really glad to participate, and really come down there and attend SEMA Summit. So that was quite exciting for us. But what were some of the key takeaways that you have from SEMA Summit 2022?
No, no, we were in Nashville. Actually, I'm drinking out of my Nashville cup right now. But shameless plug for that beautiful city. But no, it was great to get everybody, in the community, a large number of the community back together. And I think there were some takeaways. And actually, last night overnight, I received the post event survey results, and I think so. It was really top of mind in terms of what the takeaways were. One of the major takeaways was, how do you solve for the whole reporting and justifying that, you know the event expenditure, right? If there's a higher level of higher barrier or threshold to get event attendees, does that translate to a different level of expense? And so all of the corporate organizations that are part of it, we're trying to figure out, all right, what are our benchmarking metrics? What do we need to track, whether it's leads generated, growth, all these different metrics. And then how do you really measure that across your total event portfolio? And I think that's one of the major challenges. There were tracks on increasing your sponsorship. There were tracks on really diversity and inclusion, and really how do we up level our event so that all of our communities that are served feel like they're able to participate and fully contribute. And so these are some of the different challenges that we're really facing. Certainly, sustainability is top of mind as well. But realistically, if there was one thread that is a top of mind across all event portfolios, it's how do we report, justify, and qualify, and then make the expenditure, but then also how do we allocate the right resources to up level that so that this experience is unique, different, or special than anything we've ever done before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think ROI becomes very top of mind as well for event professionals, especially when you're talking about events that are being run at a very high cost or a budget. So then ROI becomes increasingly important in those cases. So yeah,
And
thanks for sharing that with us.
yeah, and I think in the marketing space, right? We're bringing people together, um, and so there's a lot that happens when you bring people together. Like two rivers when they come together, right? There's the force of this river and there's the force of this river. When the two rivers come together, that force is not just this force plus this force. The force is actually multiplied, and I think that is tough to measure when you have this person, this person, this person, this person, this person all joining forces and coming together. There's a force multiplier that happens, but it's not always immediate. It's not necessarily just a you know $5 million ROI that happens
Yeah,
that week, right? It's something that extends beyond and down the road, and who knows, maybe it's 10 years later that that conversation planted a seed that this later is a whole new line of
absolutely.
business, right? So there's some of that those measurement metrics that we're trying to figure out how to communicate those even um,
Yeah.
more fully internally.
Yeah, and interesting. And I think once we've got a solution for that, that would be uh, really, really sought after in the events industry for sure. Um, this actually brings me to the last question that we've got for you. So, because we've spoken a little bit about different kinds of events and SEMA Summit and all of that, but what are some of the trends and innovations that you are excited about because of their potential to transform how events are organized and experienced?
you know there's a lot of trends in different industries, and there's a lot of whether, like I mentioned previously, about incorporating art, incorporating um, nature into it. At SEMA Summit, we had the singer songwriter series. So you had the top songwriters for the United States' country music, their top charts, right? You have one of the most prolific writers in Brett James there right in front of you talking about how he wrote the song with Kenny Chesney at We Went Out Last Night. It's funny because I actually heard Kenny in concert, and he told the same story from the opposing side, and really intriguing and really engaging. But it's those type. How do you create those type of personal experiences and memories that are lasting, long lasting, right? Bringing the top achievers in the industry together to really share the behind the scenes. That's something that matters. So there's a lot of different innovations that you can think about as you construct and architect your event design. But at the end of the day, there's really one thing that matters more than even the event design, the intentionality, and that really is the personal connection and the care of
Yeah.
for the event planners. I will tell you, for corporate event marketing and across the other organizations that I serve, when it comes to events, it's about the personal touches. I knew even from the hotel sales side, if I knew you were coming to my hotel and I knew that your highest value uh, thing in your life was your pet, how do I serve that? Or if it's your kid or your grandmother that um, that you haven't seen in 5 years. What is that personal connection? And I think for SEMA, we have an 86% year over year membership retention rate, and it really goes back to the people. And so if you have to throw away the new trends, if you don't have the budget to do all of the rest of it, it it's about care and concern and connecting people. So how can I make a personal connection with you in this event experience? So that's the question I would ask. You know, if I didn't have the rest of the resources to be able to bring in the top singer songwriters, in country music, or take somebody to a safari out in the middle of South Africa. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, what a way to end the show today. And that was a really thought provoking one where, we do realize that in person connection and sort of building that relationship with people and within amongst your attendees as well is so so important. That's what makes it most memorable for them as well. So wonderful thoughts there, Paul, and it was lovely chatting with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
thanks, Kara. I really appreciate it.